Hey, what's happening, guys? It's Michael B. Thank you for being here. As always, Monday night, chill and chat with Michael B. Friday, we got an announcement of the NBA Jam 30th Anniversary Deluxe Vault Special Edition. That name couldn't have got any longer. So, anyways, we're going to talk about this whole Vault branding tonight, what it means for Arcade1Up fans. Can we expect to see more re releases? I think that's coming. And if there are more re releases, people in the community, what cabs do you want to see them remake? I also have a very special guest to talk about the state of Arcade One Up. Let's see if you know who it is. Anyways, get started, get excited. This is Chill and Chat with Michael B. So, guys, really quick before I bring on my guest, I want to preface this with the fact that he is, in fact, not an Arcade One Up YouTuber. I didn't even know there was such a thing. He's not a home arcade YouTuber. He's definitely not a Nintendo YouTuber, but he may be an emulation YouTuber. So, ladies and gentlemen, my friend Sean, RGT85, what's happening, brother? No mic.
There we go. Sorry, I muted myself.
That's okay, man.
Thanks for having me on. Looking forward to being on and talking Arcade One Up and probably making some people angry because I always seem to do that.
No, you're fine. It's funny because the last time you actually came on the show and talked about Arcade One Up, you basically said the exact same thing that you said in your video a little while ago because we were talking about what cabs could they come out with in 2000. I think it was like 2022.
Yeah.
And you were like, man, there's so many cabs they can do, and it seems like they're just staying away from them. But here we are, 2023, and the outlook doesn't look a lot more positive, does it?
Not for me. I mean, I understand. It's just people seem to get things twisted. They're like, well, you don't speak for me. And it's like, I'm not trying to speak for you. I'm just speaking from my own perspective as a would-be consumer. So, my opinion obviously isn't going to be standard across the board. I'm sure there's some people that are happy and all that sort of stuff. Just, everything just doesn't look good to me.
Yeah, it doesn't. And I'm glad you're here because I actually wanted to talk to you about a couple things, like the games that you talked about, and also why Arcade One Up would be doing some of these things. It's pretty clear, and kind of get your opinion on it. Before we get started with that, though, we got an early super chat here from my buddy Alan Dejanay. $10 super chat. Have a great show tonight. We'll be catching the replay as life always gets in the way of fun. That's it, man. That's what happens. Trust me. The Sean's got an hour, so I got to get through this real quick. So I'm talking in lightning fast speed. Thanks, Alan. So, man, let's get started. NBA Jam. This is a cab both me and you bought when it first came out. And like you said, it was really successful. A lot of retailers picked it up, so much so that it went on clearance before it finished up its run in the 3/4 scale. We just got the Shaq Jam last year. I don't know what to say. I don't know why you'd stick Shaq on the side of an NBA Jam cab, but here we are. And already this year, we're getting another NBA Jam cab. So you look at this. Do you see any positives of them releasing NBA Jam yet once again?
I mean, there has to be. I'm going to assume there has to be some sort of business reason behind this. Like, they have to be doing some sort of, market testing, focus groups or something, which I'm not a huge fan of focus groups to begin with. Although I was in a focus group. You ever had Oreo cereal? You're welcome, because I was in a focus testing group for Oreo cereal and I made it a reality. No, but I mean, like, it's just weird to me that they're just so focused on like re-releases and strange releases. Like, I get it, it's probably selling decently, but if it ended up going on clearance, like a lot of these do, like obviously the market for them, like I just don't see like new people being like, oh wow, I need to go get this now because it says tournament edition on the banner and it's a little bit nicer. Like, it's the same thing over and over again.
I think from a business perspective, they're looking at it this way. They've got new fans coming into the space. New people pick it up that maybe weren't buying back then. These products are time sensitive. They don't keep reproducing the same product. So they're just releasing these deluxe lines now. They're thinking it's the 30th anniversary of NBA Jam. It's a good tie-in, good time to bring it out, and hopefully some people that missed out on the first one are going to pick this up. Or you get the people that are crazy like me the last couple of years, see a new form factor and be like, hey, I like that more. Like, I just bought the NBA Jam Shack Jam last year, the XL cab, and I hate the fact that it isn't super arcade authentic. This one takes leaps and bounds in that direction. There's no riser, has the correct side art. So some people are going to rebuy it just for that fact. But I think for Arcade1Up, the big piece here is this is a license they already have. There's no research and development, so it's an easy cab to re-release. They've just got to put a new form factor out there.
Which is fine. Like, I get that. But I also feel like, like you said, you didn't like how the XL cab wasn't more arcade authentic. But I mean, really, at the end of the day, are we buying these for arcade authenticity, or are we buying them because, I mean, they're always going to be not completely authentic. You're always gonna have, like, do stuff to them if you want to improve the quality of them. I don't know. It just seems like the business model to me has completely changed along the way, where originally it was, hey, we understand not everyone has the room for an arcade cabinet in their house. We understand that not everyone can afford one. Here's some $300-$400 replica style arcade units. Like, to me, it was never supposed to be like $1,000. Like, oh, well, this is so accurate. Like, everything, as long as it looks decent. Like,
Yeah,
I didn't care. And I don't think anyone necessarily cared. I mean, there's always going to be a small contingency of people who always want more and better. And, like, I get it. That's cool. But I feel like that was their market, was the, maybe not necessarily an impulse buy, but a $300 cabinet, $400 cabinet versus $1,000. That's a lot more of an impulse buy. That's a lot more of a, oh, we could get this for the kids for Christmas or something like that. Like $1,000, like, that's an investment
right?
for something that, I mean, it's probably not going to get that much playtime in your house. I believe what the new arcade NBA Jam one is, what, $600 US?
Well, that's a bit funny. I don't know if you followed it throughout the day. So it launched with a price point of $599. Shortly after that, the price went up to $699. Shortly after that, the price dropped down to $649. And what we're told was the manufacturer's suggested retail price that Arcade1Up put out was $599. The retailer, which is Shop Hippo, said, yeah, that's $699 cab, and then decided to drop it down to $649. So that's where it ended up. And I'm not going to justify it, but usually the Arcade1Up cabs with the 4-player decks, they usually cost about $100 more. That's where they are with price points. So I guess what they're saying right now is the standard price point for a cab that's not a legacy cab, it's going to be $599 US. This one's $649. So, ugh.
Well, yeah, because I mean, I know I paid $700 for X-Men and Simpsons, and I was just like, no, I am out. Like, that's crazy. Like, quality's going backwards, and like the thing of it is like, some of these re-releases aren't necessarily better. The Turtles re-release is not better.
Yeah.
The speakers on that re-release are garbage, whereas like the original one that I have, nice and bassy and stuff like that. Like, I hate to say it, but like, I've just lost trust in them. I think it's just like, you announce something and I'm like, how are they gonna F this up? That's instead of being excited for it, instead of like looking forward to it, it's like, how are they gonna F this up? Or it's just like a rehash of what we've seen before.
Yeah. So I know where you're coming from. That whole line that year, they introduced this new thing where they were putting a speaker, like a speaker headphone jack in on the control panel, and through the hardwiring through that, they screwed something up, and the bass was all messed up because of that new, like, they just messed up the sound. So every cab that came out that year all had this audio that was loud, but it just had no bass. It sucked. A whole line of cabs with no bass. So like Simpsons, X-Men, all have this really soft, no bass sound. So I know exactly where you're coming from there. I sold many of those cabs because of that reason. Really quickly, $10 super chat from Kevin Clausen. I joined the Arcade1Up scene less than a year ago when I couldn't get the non-Shack cab. I'm happy I can get a new NBA Jam cab. Also enjoyed RGT's latest video and understand his perspective. I think you speak for a lot of people in the community, especially people that have been doing this since the beginning, like you have, because a lot of people forget that. You were here day one, man. You were probably the biggest reason I got into Arcade1Up. In fact, that's what I tell my wife. She's not very happy with you, by the way.
Hey, I can't help it. But no, yeah, like I was one of the first people that ended up with a Street Fighter cabinet, and then like I thoroughly enjoyed them and I wanted more, and I went out of my way to, collect more of them and get the ones that I wanted. Because I mean, at that time, it was so exciting. You didn't have rehashes and stuff like that. They were like, oh, you like Street Fighter? Here's Mortal Kombat. Oh, you like beat 'em ups? Here's Final Fight. Oh, you like, it was just like, wow, you're getting all these awesome IPs. And then it feels like, a year or two ago, it just like, they were like, all right, you know what? We're good. We got the IPs we want. We're good. We're going to re-release stuff now. It's like, okay, like where's like Time Crisis? I remember when I used to talk about Arcade1Up news and stuff like that regularly. I remember talking about Time Crisis like 2 years ago.
Yeah,
at least 2 years ago, and it's like still I saw the leak and the button on the side and stuff like that, which it's not a huge deal to me because I have a Sinden light gun that I use with a Batacera build. So I'm kind of used to it because I didn't buy the foot thing. The foot thing was way too much money. But at the same time, it's like, well, what are you charging me for this? You're missing a key feature of the game. You put it on the controller, fine. I'm assuming you're doing that to cut costs. But are you going to charge me, a premium price for this? Because you charged, it was $700 for Terminator 2, wasn't it? Or was it $600 when it first came out?
Terminator 2 was $699.
God, this Paul Minderman guy just does not like me.
Paul Minderman doesn't like a lot of people. He's an angry man.
He's a very angry man. How can you hate him? He's such a nice guy.
Well, you only know Nostalgia a little bit. We all hate Nostalgia.
Oh, okay, that's fine. But no, like, yeah, it's just weird to me. It's just weird. And I get it. There's certain IPs that you can't get. There's certain IPs that cost a lot of money. There's certain IPs that companies are going to hold closer to their heart than they will other stuff, but I don't know.
So with the Time Crisis, there's not a lot of information out on it right now, but going back to the leak that came out last week, which is like the 15th leak on Time Crisis. So just to be clear, there's a piece on the button for the duck button, a piece on the gun. There's also a foot pedal, so it has both. You get one or the other. So the question is, when you have the foot pedal, obviously the foot pedal is going to be pretty close to the cab, so you're going to be uptight. But what they're trying to do is to add the button, so if you want to stand back a little bit, you don't have to do some kind of weird ballet splits to hit the foot pedal too. So it's both, from what I understand.
Okay, well that's cool then, because the only thing I saw was the button part, and I saw what was the other. It was Time Crisis, Point Blank, and what was the other thing? Steel
Gunner 1 and 2.
What is that? I have no idea what that is.
Another Bandai Namco shooter series. Steel Gunner, it's pretty cool. I forgot. So Kevin Clausen, thank you very much for the super chat. And while Sean takes a look at that, there's another one here from our buddy Ezekiel, the Chicago Retro Ranger. What's happening, bud? $5. Hey, Mike and RGT. I too lost faith in Arcade1Up. It's frustrating that a company I've come to love is doing so many things wrong. Yeah, it's heartbreaking. Thank you for the super chat so much, Ezekiel. So I met Ezekiel when I went to Chicago. We did this meetup at iArcade. We went to Galloping Ghost. He actually came and made us Arcade1Up hats. So I'm like one of the only humans with a officially branded Arcade1Up hat.
Nice. Yeah,
because they refuse to sell sensible merchandise.
Right. I seem to recall seeing this game. I don't think I've ever played it, but like that's cool. But I don't know.
I know where you're to. You're like, it's the same way. You said something that really spoke to kind of my heart when I look at this, especially when I saw Buck Hunter. I'm like, okay, Buck Hunter's a bear game. And then the very next year they came out with, what was it? The next driving game was Ridge Racer. I'm like, how in God's name are you releasing Ridge Racer when Daytona's there? When Rush is there, when Cruising USA is there? Like, if there is three arcade racing games that should be the top of your priority list, those are them. Rush, Cruisin', and Daytona. And then the next year comes out and they release Fast and the Furious. And
That
I got a lot of hate for it, but I said the same thing. I was like, what the hell are you doing releasing Fast and the Furious?
Well, like I thought the business model was reliving arcade games of your past.
Yeah.
Like, are 15-year-olds going out and getting the weirdly pieced together Fast and the Furious cabinet? It's like, well, what's actually on it? You know, like that was kind of a jumping of the shark moment for me.
Yeah, a lot of the community were pretty mad with that. It's funny though, everybody who bought it loves it, loves Fast and
Yeah,
Furious
like
for some reason. They have a lot of fun with it.
because it's a racer.
Yeah.
Like, I think anyone would have fun with a racing game. People had fun with Outrun, you know, people had fun with Ridge Racer, but it's like, I don't know. There's definitely certain games that I feel like should have been a higher priority, you know. But then again, you also have the whole business aspect of it. It's
Yeah.
easy to sit here and armchair quarterback and be like, "This is the game you need. This is the game you need." But you would like to give them the benefit of the doubt that there are reasons behind the decisions. There are reasons, you know, that certain games aren't available on systems. So, you know, it's kind of a catch-22.
Yeah. So, for example, like Daytona, Daytona is a Sega System 2 arcade game.
Mhm.
And I don't think there's a commercial emulator out there currently available that actually runs that. Now, there might be an emulator, but not a commercial emulator, right?
Right.
Because they can't just stick these homebrew emulators on it. Like we can do it when you buy. Sean, how many of those emulation devices do you have now?
Oh my God. I keep getting more too. But this was my plan. I was like, I'm gonna buy one mini PC and one little emulation thing, and then all these companies are gonna hit me up. And sure enough, yeah, I have a million, and I have a million more coming in.
So that hard drive one, the one from Canada, that actually got me excited. The one that plays the Switch games. I don't really care about the Switch games, but I was looking at it, man. Saturn, Dreamcast, like some really fun hard to run stuff. And I
The
was
Chris
like, oh
Cool
yeah,
mod one.
yeah,
Yeah. I actually got one that's really crazy. That I'm reviewing this week. I honestly can't believe some of the stuff that's on it, and the price point of it is absolutely ridiculous. It's only like $120, which, I mean, it'd be a little more in Canada, but it's crazy, dude. There's so much just crazy stuff on it. I'm just like, wow. Like, how are you selling this? But I mean, that's the beauty of China. They have no copyright laws, so they can do whatever they want and just send it to me. And I'm just like, hey, I'm just reviewing what they sent me. Okay,
that's right.
Don't come after me.
So yeah, I actually got reached out to Kin Hank. You ever heard of these guys? Super Console X.
I did the Super Console X4 on Sunday actually, and I told them, I was like, because we corresponded through email, they're releasing well, I don't know if I should say that. I don't know. They didn't say I was embargoed or anything, or that I couldn't say anything. They're actually releasing a new system that's supposedly all new chipset, built from the ground up, comes out in August or September, and it's capable of running harder to emulate stuff than these. Because I mean, the whole thing of it is like you could buy a mini PC and a hard drive, and then you're set. You're playing 90% of stuff. But for some people, they don't want to mess around with that. They just want a more plug and play option. And the one that I reviewed, like, oddly enough, Saturn stuff worked good, but PlayStation 1 didn't. And I was just like, that makes no sense. But they told me that they're gearing up to release one that can do PS2 and like GameCube with like no issues. So
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting my hands on that. But I told them, I'm like, dude, just if you want, like, because like they gave me all these explanations for the questions that I had on their device. And I'm like, if you just want to know stuff, like, just hit me up and ask me. Obviously, I'm not the be all end all, but I feel like, there are certain things that certain people like some of the systems have scan lines, some of them don't. I don't want scan lines. I don't want them. If I wanted scan lines, I would play something on a CRT TV. You can have an option there, that's fine. But like NES and Super Nintendo had default scan lines, and it was a pain in the ass to turn them off. But Genesis didn't have scan lines, and I'm like, there's no consistency here. Like, well, what are you doing? So, I honestly think that's such a fun market for me, is like the random mini PC hard drive emulation devices, because it's bad to say, but there is no community of people that really follow it. So it's just like nobody cares. Like they just look at it and like they can hate you and hate your guts, but they're like, oh, you know, that's a cool little thing. All right, moving right along. It's like it doesn't fester with people.
Yeah, so it's funny because Nostalgia's been doing these for years. I call Nostalgia. You know who ETA Prime is, right?
Oh yeah.
So I say Nostalgia's the great value ETA Prime.
And I'm the great value nostalgia. No, because like I just looked at that stuff. I looked at people like ETA Prime, Retro Game Cores, and stuff. I'm like, this looks just so nice. Like this is so nice. It's all evergreen stuff. You don't have to, you know, you're not. It's just you're checking out a product. It's so nice. Like I genuinely enjoy doing them. I genuinely enjoy this way more than I thought I would, and like I've got so much more stuff coming in, and so that's always good. Like I just did I finally did my Evercade EXP video. That's actually what I was finishing up today. They sent me one, DHL lost it, and then I bought one, and then I just kind of forgot I had it. Like it was sitting on my kitchen table, and I was like, oh shit, let me go ahead and do this. So I've got that video coming out tomorrow. But yeah, like I love these little devices. They're just fun. You know, they're just fun. And like nobody cares. It's all, a lot of it is just like more casual people who are like looking for like X product on Amazon or on a website or something, and they come across it, and so they type it into YouTube to see people talking about it. That's how I got into all this stuff. 6 months ago, I didn't know anything about this stuff. I didn't do mini PCs. I didn't do any of that stuff. But when I decided to kind of, you know, trim down most of my collection, I was like, well, I still want to play the games. Like what is emulation now? And I was just like, wow, I didn't know all this. Like, so cool.
When you remember, a couple of years ago sold my game collection, and one of the things was I was like, I just want to play it through emulation. One of the things I didn't realize at that time is there is a difference with emulation. I mean, latency with most emulation sucks. So I would play stuff that I'm just second nature to me, like Super Punch Out, and I'm like, I don't suck at Super Punch Out. What the hell's going on here? But it's a lag in the emulation. Like you don't get it. So there is like an art to it. And that's one of the things I really like about the Evercade team. Like one, you've got the XP now, so you play those games on there. Like you're playing Mega Man 2. That's a pretty much a 1-for-1 experience with the original Mega Man 2. It is flawless. Like they do such a good job with the actual, I don't know if it's emulation or porting of the games, but that's one thing I'll give them a lot of credit on.
Oh yeah, it's a very cool system. Be on the lookout for that video. It comes out tomorrow. But I mean, even I don't know. I feel like input lag is definitely there, but I feel like it's gotten so much better over time. Like I remember playing like Nesticle back in like 2001 on my friend's computer. We were just blown away. We're like, whoa, we could play video games on this thing. And like the last time I really got into emulating stuff was like 2006 with I was doing No Mercy hacks. Yeah, and I was downloading like all these different hacks for moves and HD texture packs and stuff like that, and I loved that. But then just like I don't know, I just didn't pay attention to emulation because my collection started to grow. But with emulation, I'm playing so many more retro games. Like it's insane. Like it's insane, and like actually playing them to completion, being able to enjoy them because I just sit down and it's all there. It's all right there. You know, I don't have to dig out X console, set it up to the TV. Oh, wait, I need this I need this, HDMI cable with this plug to make it run on the TV. Oh, I could play it on my CRT though. Oh, my CRT small. No, you just plug it in, you play it, you enjoy it.
And it works.
It works.
Really quickly, Chit for Brains, $5 super chat. Where's Robotron or Dual Stick Cab? Come on. Do you know what Robotron is? Have you ever come across it?
I'm familiar with the game. I've never played it though. Yeah. I've actually been fascinated with Robotron 64, which never came out. This is horrible. So I sell all my video games, but now I'm buying all my Game Pros back from when I was a kid. There's just one guy. He's like a drug dealer to me on eBay. He always lists like a full year's worth of magazines, and I'm like, I don't need it. Now I have the complete year of 96, the complete year of 95. It's horrible, but It's really weird looking through those magazines too, dude, because like it's like it takes you back to a time and place where like you were reading it as a kid. Like I specifically remember the one that had Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 on the cover art, and I still like remembered the reviews that were in that game, and then sitting back, it was like I was transported back into a childhood home. But anyways, yeah, I've been buying up so many of those, but they had a, Robotron 64 was supposed to be like this huge experience, and like it was gonna take you like forever to go from one side of the map to the other, and then it never came out. And I was like, oh, that kind of sucks.
Yeah. Those are the games really interesting. Like you'd love to see when people come across like a beta copy or something like that and release it online.
Yeah.
Has anybody come out with having any of that game at all? Like, is there anything?
There's a couple videos online, but I don't know. I don't know how far I mean, they were decently far in the development process. I believe they said they were like 50-60%. But what ended up happening was it was turnover because the original company got sold to someone, and then they was supposed to still come out, but then there was a bankruptcy and this, that, and the other. And then by that time, the video game industry was so different in the past than it is now. If a system was out for like 5 years, it was like, what the hell? We need something new already. Like nowadays, that's just like, standard stuff. But like back in the day, it's like once you hit like year 4, it's like, all right, where's the new thing? It needs to go ahead and release now. But I mean, that was just because technology was just moving so fast,
Yeah, it was like the difference between the Super Nintendo N64 and that era. I mean, like leaps and bounds compared to nowadays. Like how far can we actually push the graphics? Like, oh, it's 4K to 8K. The graphics are a little bit more rounded. That's like,
and you almost have steps back in some of the games, like destruction elements have not gotten any better. There's still games that are on the Xbox 360 that have better destruction elements than, modern games. Like modern gaming, I do love it, but it's so directionless. It's so just all over the place. Like what are we trying to achieve here? Are we trying to achieve photorealism, or are we trying to achieve an interactive gameplay experience? Because I would take an environment where I can destroy every little thing, shoot holes. Perfect example: Battlefield Bad Company 2 on the Xbox 360. We were playing Call of Duty Warzone, myself, Spawnwave, Modern Vintage Gamer, and Nate the Hate, and we're playing it all the time. And I was just so tired of like looking at walls and being like, why can't I shoot through this wall? Why can't I knock down this wall? I don't understand this. I did none of the levels, all the levels. There's very little interactivity. I'm like, dude, if we played Battlefield Bad Company 2 on the Xbox 360, we could do all that stuff. So I forced all of them, because it's on Game Pass, I forced all of them to download it, and we had so much fun playing that game, just blowing up. So someone's hiding in a building. Oh, you blow up the building. You literally stake it to the ground. Like, how did we go backward? You play the newer Battlefield, it's not a priority anymore. It's just this big ass map with all these different people playing, and it's like, how do we go so backwards? I don't get it.
All right, so Chip Her Brains, thank you very much. We got another super chat here from Stringer Films. Excited for 1UP Psycho Killer Edition Cubert. So this dude has just picked up Golden Tee, Real Arcade, but it's not really a Golden Tee, for $100 off like Craigslist or whatever. Turns out it's actually in a Cubert body, so he's going to put together good stuff, Stringer Films. And we got your buddy down here, Console Fanboy, $5 super chat, RGT. If you had to choose one more 1UP machine, would it be Daytona, House of the Dead, or Virtua Fighter?
Ooh, that's tough. That's extremely tough. That's disgustingly tough, because it all kind of depends on the supplemental games. But if we're just saying that there's one, I'm gonna bump you up to Virtua Fighter 2 on that.
Wow.
Yeah. Daytona. I'll say Daytona.
There you go. Thank you.
Because it's a racing game. I feel like racing games and light gun games should be a higher priority, because those are experiences that you can't get on a main box or something like that. Like you can hook up an arcade joystick, and you can obviously hook up a wheel, but the average person isn't going to do that. And because it's too much stuff going on. But you can hook up an arcade stick to an emulation device that has a million MAME ROMs on it, or Sega Model 2 stuff on it. Hell, that's how I play those games now. But to have a sit down experience, or even just have a wheel with Daytona, and then you would probably get what would you get with it? Sega Rally.
Sega Rally, yeah.
Maybe really just those two games. Like that's probably enough. But you could do
Virtua
Daytona.
Racer.
Yeah, Virtual Racing. Yeah, and you could throw Daytona 2 on there if you wanted as well.
Yeah, I want Daytona. I've wanted Daytona since day one. When they came out with Outrun, I was like, okay, that's a good classic title, but where's Daytona? Still waiting, man. So, getting back to the Arcade1Up stuff really quickly. So, the other thing that came from this that I think people should be, and thanks for the super chat, console fanboy. So, the other thing that really came from this that I think people are missing is they very clearly put on the branding for this box as well, the Vault Special Edition. So, this is a new product line. You know what that means, Sean?
More re-releases.
More re-releases. So, that's the bad thing about this. For the people that have been waiting for new games to come out, it looks like we're getting more re-releases. We already know that there's going to be a re-release of Big Buck Hunter coming out in the very near future. And the funny thing about that is that one's still in stores. Like you can go pretty much anywhere, I think, and still buy a Big Buck Hunter. So we're getting another Big Buck Hunter. I don't know if that's really the re-release people want. I put a poll up here in the chat, and I put a couple Arcade1Up titles that came out. I don't think you're gonna like these. These are more classic titles. I know you're more.
Oh yeah, I was looking for the none of the above option.
Yeah. So here's the option. These are 4 cabs. I've actually never ever bought Space Invaders. It wasn't available here in Canada. But the options were Burger Time, which was a special cab from Arcade1Up. I still have my Burger Time. Frogger, which Arcade1Up did dirty. They didn't do a very good job with Frogger. Had the wrong art. Didn't have the right music. Had a cool games list though. Space Invaders was only Space Invaders and Space Invaders Deluxe. Had an awful sound issue, so bad they actually had to sell that cab for $100 with a copy of Star Wars Battlefront from Walmart.
Wow.
Yeah. And then Defender, which was only a skin of the MK Legacy 2. What we want there is a Defender done with the Partycade type Defender with the right controls and also that games list. A little bit of Gore Faction on there as well. Some Sinister, that would be the shit. So, guys, I'm going to leave this up the whole show. Make sure to vote. Tell me which of those you'd like to see, Sean. If you could pick one cab for them to re-release, and now here's the thing. They're not just re-releasing the original game as it is. They're also going to change it to this new form factor, and they're going to add some options in like online and shit like that. So think about one of those early Arcade1Ups you bought that you think is really good, but maybe could have used a little bit of extra. They probably already made them though with Street Fighter and MK. Yeah. So
that's what I'm going through my mind. I'm like, well, most of the ones, I mean, I guess just by default, even though my Final Fight is now reskinned as WrestleCade, I'll say the Final Fight one because that would be kind of cool. But I don't know, like, are they focusing on the right things? Like with a fighting game, okay, I get online. But I don't know. Like, how many people are playing NBA Jam right now?
I don't know. Online. I have no idea. I have this crazy Arcade1 app on my phone. Does it tell me on that?
Like, I just wonder how many people really utilize it in a regular manner to the point of where it's worth focusing. Because isn't Marvel vs. Capcom 2 still broken with the online stuff?
I sold my Marvel vs. Capcom 2, so I can't tell you. I haven't really been following up on it. I actually sold most of my Arcade1Ups. I only have 6 left.
Oh, wow. That's not a lot for you.
No. At one point, I had, like, in the 30s. But
jeez, where did you put them? Outside? Like
everywhere, man. Everywhere. I had an XL cab in my shoe closet. Can you think of any that you think that would be cool to get a re-release? Maybe Final Fight online options. Plus
yeah, I mean, I guess that would be the one. Final Fight with online options, but I've never repurchased one. I've never been like, oh, this one is slightly better. I better buy it. It's like, no, I just, it's not worth. I don't think I've seen one where it's like, I have to have this. It's worth it to me. It's like, no, like, it's fine for what it is. How often am I going to use the online of it? I
actually really like that aspect of NBA Jam. I've had a lot of fun playing with friends, but the original cab had the online too. So,
Right.
like the return on investment for doing a repurchase isn't very high for that cab, in my opinion. This is more so for the people who missed out on it the first time. And the thing that pisses me off, it's the 30th anniversary of NBA Jam, right?
Right.
Then they put the wrong marquee on it. They put the
Tournament edition on there.
So
Yeah.
it's not the 30th anniversary of tournament edition. Why you put
Right.
the tournament edition
Yeah.
marquee on there?
I noticed that and I was like, why? Like, well, how does this, that's what's going to sell it to me? It's not tournament edition. The game that I already have on my NBA Jam Arcade1Up cabinet. Like, okay, cool.
All right, we got another super chat here from Hoots, $5. As someone looking to get into the hobby, what is the best time to buy Arcade1Up machines, and what would you recommend for starting a collection? I don't know, man. If you're just getting into the hobby, just find something that you're really happy, passionate about. Research it, see how it's selling. Some go down in price, some don't. Usually around Black Friday. Prime Day is actually tomorrow. And sometimes some of the older cabinets go on crazy sales. There was like big sales on Ridge Racer, T2, a couple others last year. I think we might see some on last year's Legacy. So keep your eyes out for Prime Day tomorrow. And if you have a specific cab you're interested in, maybe it'll pop up on that.
And
Thank you for the super chat, Hoots.
Facebook Marketplace too. You got a lot of
yeah.
people that, I mean, some of them overprice the hell out of them because they're trying to sell to stupid people who don't know any better. But a lot of them are just trying to get rid of it.
One-Up won't make a perfect cab. You'd stop buying them. Stringer Films says, yes, Stringer Films. That's right. that's the business model, is just to make it just a little bit better so you'll buy next year's model. It's a funny thing about the Vault, too. They have this Vault product line. Arguably, the Vault has been open for, what, like 4 years now? They just keep releasing these games over and over.
Like, what are some of the ones that haven't gotten a re-release that are older? Like Final Fight? You know why Final Fight didn't? Probably because it sold like ass comparative to other ones. Like, there was no demand for it. Like, everything else, though, like we've seen it time and time again.
So yeah, it's here in the chat. Like the same ones I put up in the poll: Burger Time, Frogger, Space Invaders, Defender. No re-releases. That's why I put them up there. But like games like NBA Jam, you know, you're gonna see Blitz remade because they put so much money into it. You're going to see Marvel vs. Capcom 2 remade, maybe an XL, maybe a Pro. Who knows, right?
Yeah. I mean, I do wonder. I wish there was like sales figures for some of these, though. I would be super interested in seeing, because you remember when these first released, and you had stuff like Street Fighter, and then you had stuff like Mortal Kombat come out. What were the ones that you always saw at your Walmart? What were the ones that were always discounted at your Walmart, just kind of rotting away? I know there's a lot of people in the chat that are going to get pissed at me saying this, but usually it was your Froggers, it was your Space Invaders, it was your Defenders. Those were the games that were constantly on sale and not moving. So I feel like the reason why, you know, those never got a sniff at a re-release was because of that. Like, probably, you know, that's a demographic that's, you know, a little bit older than me, and I'm not quite sure how strong that is comparative to a little kid, you know, a teenager, whatever. They'll know what Mortal Kombat is. They'll know what NBA Jam is. It's basketball, you know, it doesn't matter. They'll know what Street Fighter is because these are still prominent franchises. Whereas, you know, Defender, Space Invaders, like, I don't know. I feel like they're a bit more niche than diehard fans would like to realize or come to terms with.
Well,
I'm sure that's going to go over very well in the chat, but hey.
There's also the question, who do Arcade1Up sell their product to? Like, do you think they sell it to the end consumer, or are they selling it to the distributors? Are they going to Walmart, talking to Walmart, and that's the actual person they go to? They say, we got 5 games we want to sell: Pac-Man, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter. Oh, we're thinking about doing this House of the Dead, and we're doing this one. And Walmart looks at it and says, Pac-Man, yes. Street Fighter, yes. Mortal Kombat, yes. House of the Dead, we don't know. It's retailers. That's who they're selling to. And that's a lot of the problem. Like you talked about in your video, man, like what's with all these re-releases? Because that's what the retailers are asking them to do. I got to think that's the reason.
Right. I mean, no, and you're 100% right, because there is strength of brands, you know,
Yeah.
because God forbid Sega respect anything beyond Sonic the Hedgehog, but you have the strengths of these brands where, you know, they're still popular, they're still relevant, they still move. And I mean, when you have with a re-release system or the idea of a re-release system, you have data about how they sold originally.
Yeah.
So you know what moves better than other things.
Yeah, like Stringer Films, another $2 super chat here. He says Star Wars Deluxe drops after current cabs sell out. So Star Wars Deluxe, we got a new Star Wars re-release earlier this year, not the Sega one, the Atari one, and he's saying that a Deluxe will drop after the current cab sells out. It's possible, man. Star Wars is a hot brand, so there you go. I'm surprised they haven't done the Sega Star Wars one, but I do have some insight on that. You know why they haven't done any more Sega games?
Why?
Because it's like super expensive.
Yeah, that's what I
Sega's
figured.
licenses are just like, yeah, you want to do Golden Axe, $500,000. You're like, what the fuck, man? I'm not paying that for the license.
That's what I figured. Yeah, when the Star Wars stuff was first announced, I was like, oh wow, I remember these games. And then when I saw them, I'm like, oh fuck me, like this isn't what I thought it was gonna. Damn it, I'm not buying this crap.
So
And
you were thinking it was more like the 32X Sega Star Wars arcade.
I thought it was the Sega games. Yeah. The Star Wars trilogy Sega machine. And I was like, well, how the hell are they going to do that? That had a crazy control scheme on it, but who cares? They're doing it. And then it was like, no, it's these lovely ones, Vectrex graphics, and then an isometric game. And I mean, you know, people that are a bit older than me enjoyed it. And I'm glad that they did. I'm not going to enjoy something that I don't enjoy. I'm not going to fake like I like this. Just to...
No, what are you doing, man? We're retro gaming YouTubers. We all have to pretend we love the Vectrex. What are you doing?
I've never played one. I have no nostalgia for it. I mean, because there's games that people ask me about, like, what do you think about this? And I'm like, oh, it's okay. Okay, this is the greatest game ever. It's like, I didn't play this growing up. I don't have the same nostalgia that you do. I played this as an adult, and it's okay. Like, it's pretty good. It's fun. I like it, but I'm not going to, you know, give me Sonic Spinball. Like, I'll play that. I'll rather play that because I have nostalgia for it.
So I'll tell you another thing. New titles that almost came out. You mentioned Sega. They did almost have a new Sega title that came out. They were going to make a Sonic the Hedgehog arcade.
Based on the arcade game with the ball?
Yeah. Yeah, the Japanese arcade game with the ball. So that one almost came out around the release of Sonic the Hedgehog 2, the movie. So they were looking at doing that. There were some other games on it too, like I think it's like Sonic the Fighters, and they're going to put some console games on it too. Would that be something you would have been excited about?
I'm a little child when it comes to Sonic the Hedgehog, so I rescind everything that I said about Arcade1Up. Fantastic company, great direction, great vision. No, that would interest me. That would interest me. Honestly, Sonic Fighters would interest me more than just a standard Sonic the Hedgehog, because I actually like that game. It's kind of, but at that point, it's like, why would Sonic the Hedgehog cost me more than Virtua Fighter or House of the Dead or Daytona? You know what I'm saying? Like, that doesn't make sense. I guess maybe they think that because of the success of Sonic the Hedgehog, that it would be more profitable. I don't know. It drives me nuts because Sega's not doing anything with these games. They're literally doing nothing with them.
I know.
They're just sitting there rotting away. Do something with them. This is easy money. This is why your company is in a weird position, because you don't go for easy money. Everyone loves easy money.
It's funny, like these old companies, what are they doing with them, right? I don't know how many of them are still in, like, obviously Sega's still in place, and like look at some of the Hudson games now, like that's all owned by Konami.
Yep.
But like a company like Vic Tokai, like who are they to be like, no, we got an offer to put Go 13 on the system, but hold, we might get a better one.
Yeah, like I understand valuing your IP. You should always value what you have, but you also have to be realistic about it as well. And some money is always better than no money.
I don't know why console fanboys asking this. $5 super chat, RGT. If you had to choose Amaranth, Destiny FOMO for the first person to get the Nintendo Switch Pro for review, who would it be? LOL.
Oh no, he's saying, or I'm the first person to get the Switch Pro for review. That's
Switch
Pro. Switch Pro. Have you seen what Kevin Kenson got when he got a freaking OLED early? He got literally millions of views on those videos. You know how much money that is? I'll take the money any day of the week.
Thanks, console fanboy. Speaking of which, guys, I've got a new wallet I'm going to be reviewing in the near future. Esker Wallets. Check them out. I shill now all the time.
Good. Good. You should. There's nothing wrong with it.
No, absolutely. So, no other cabs that you think Arcade1Up would come out with re-releases excite you at all. So, this is something mainly for new people.
Yeah, that's what I think. Just
Yeah.
trying to, but I just question how many new people are there really? Like,
I don't know.
Unless you're doing a huge marketing blitz of like, you know, not just internet. I'm talking about like cable television and stuff, because maybe that's a demographic that you haven't hit yet. Who are you targeting that you haven't already targeted, that hasn't already decided one way or another if they want one of your platforms? I just feel like I feel like the market cap of this is reaching its peak. And
Saturation, yeah.
And I don't think, because you're selling nostalgia to people, and now those people are starting to get older, and they're maybe moving away from the nostalgia. It's like, you know, the time is now for newer stuff that would reinvigorate the nostalgia, not things that you've already done in the past. That's just my opinion, though.
I think that right now for them, after last couple years, I don't think the last couple years were as successful as maybe the beginning of the pandemic. And I think that they're trying to make very safe moves, low-cost moves. They're coming out with products that they've already got the licenses for. They've already got most of the programming done for that is low-cost to put in cabs and put out there. And believe it or not, from what I'm hearing, so far, the deluxe cabs that they put out this year, so just Pac-Man, Class of 81, and Mortal Kombat, plus Fast and the Furious, have sold really well, surprisingly well. So much so that they've moved up production. They're putting a couple more cabs out. Looks like it's going to be re-releases, unfortunately. But, you know, we're going to get Time Crisis. That's one we know is coming out this year. That's a new cab. Hopefully there's some other new stuff coming out too. I'm not going to hold my breath, but we'll see.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, that like I said, that's completely fine. If they're making money, I understand it. You know, every relationship has its ups and downs. My relationship with Arcade1Up has had lots of ups and lots of downs, and that's okay. You know,
Yeah.
they don't have to do what I want them to do. They have to do what makes them money and what works for them. If that's what makes them money and what's works for them, then I understand it. Selfishly, I don't give a shit. I don't want these re-releases. I want new stuff, and I want what I want. But that's just because, you know, that's just my opinion. Like, I understand it if it's working from a business perspective. It's just like Nintendo. I want a stronger system. I want something that's better. But people are buying the system that you have now, and they're still buying it. So you got to wait. And, you know, eventually, hopefully it'll come. Who knows with Nintendo? Maybe it'll never come. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's really just me and everyone, you know, being selfish, what they want and what they think is best. But, you know, as long as the business is working, that's just what it is.
It's like every time I watch a Nintendo Direct, I get pissed afterwards. I'm like, what the hell was that? And people are like, oh my God, best Direct ever because this came out, this came out.
You had Metal Gear Solid.
That was cool.
Batman finally, even though I already own them on a million systems. Super Mario Wonder looks really good. Super Mario RPG, you know what's funny? Never played it. Never played Super Mario RPG. I didn't have a That's another game. You haven't played. You're not a real gamer. No, I didn't have a Super Nintendo growing up. I had a Sega Genesis. Okay, that's why I didn't play it. Weirdos.
I didn't play it as a kid. I played it when it first came to Wii Virtual Channel. That was an exciting time for me. I got it day one, played it through for the first time, and I used to play it on what was that you used to say? SNES? What was the SNES? Dream SNES on my computer back in the day.
Okay,
I never really got far in it. Yeah. Anyways, I'm going to throw some titles out there now. You tell me if this would make you excited for Arcade1Up going forward if they did this. Okay. One thing I will say before we go too far, I think the biggest kick in the nuts for most of the fans, one of the hardest factors with Arcade1Up was the price increases. Like to me, when they were selling these cabs at about $3.99, they made some of the upgrades. I know you don't care for all of them. Like You can give a shit about the light up marquees. You can give a shit about the included risers. But when they were doing that, light up marquees, risers, $3.99 price point, that was the golden age for Arcade1Up. If they could have kept that price point, move forward, I think we'd be having a very different discussion today. But unfortunately, they put it up to $4.99, $5.99, and it's tough. It's tough, man. Like you said, it's just almost impossible to justify buying so many of these over and over again. But I'm going to throw some titles out there. You tell me if you think this would be something that could save Arcade1Up. So one I've been fighting for, and this is a selfish one as well, is Robotron 2084. But the easy money's on the fact that they might do a Smash TV cab with Robotron, Total Carnage, and maybe something else on it. So what do you think of Smash TV? Is that a title you'd be excited for? I know it's an 80s title, so you're going to say no, but I got to ask.
I wouldn't buy it on day one.
No.
And maybe when it was on, it's like, I like Smash TV, but it's not a game that I need.
No. All right. WrestleFest.
I'm happy with my custom WrestleFest cabinet because they would have to butcher it. There's no way that they would get all the wrestlers in there, and it would just be, it wouldn't be WrestleFest. Okay. Now, if they could, then sure. Like I would definitely buy that.
Okay, moving on. What about obviously Daytona? Daytona's a day one buy.
Yeah.
Cruising USA.
I like it. I don't love it. I would consider it.
San Francisco Rush.
Consider it. If it was a sit down, I don't think I would want to stand up in that.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I think one of the big problems they have with their racing cabs is their racing cabs are awesome, but the stand-up model is the good one, but we want like a comfortable sit-down option. And I don't know if you can do that affordably in the home. Like, I mean, if you're going to do a Rush cab, you got to have the, molded green chair with it too. Right. How do you do that? How do you do a comfortable sit-down? Because the sit-down stool version they had was bullshit. The stand-up is the only real way to play it, but it's still not comfortable. So it'd be great if they could find some way to do a proper sit-down cab. That would be exciting. All right, moving on to gun games. So Time Crisis.
On the fence about it. I like it. I need to see it, though. I need to see it in action to really be sold on it. But it's a possibility. House of the Dead's day one.
Day one. Do you think they'll ever do it?
No. Because I think Sega is the one that's being hard-nosed with this, and I feel like they're just asking way too much.
I think there's a couple of problems. I think one of the things that helps is the fact they just did the remake, because this is one of those stories that are out there. They lost the original source code for the game. So I don't know if it can be remade, but if someone remade it for the remake, maybe they can patch or something like that and maybe get it up and working, or maybe they just hack the ROM. I don't know how all this stuff works. I'm not a scientist. I'm like Batman. All right. So another couple ones. What about NHL 2-on-2? You ever heard of that one?
Yeah, I'm familiar with that game. Not a huge hockey fan, so not super interested, but maybe at a discounted price, I would look at that. Because sports games are usually, generally fun in arcade settings.
All right, I'm gonna put this back up. Console Fanboy $4.99 super chat. RGT, in your opinion, how long does Arcade1Up have left in this space? Are they the next iArcade, or will they last for a while?
I don't think they'll go anywhere anytime soon. I mean, stupid decisions aside, like that. What is that Wheel of Fortune thing? What is that?
You don't want a casino cade?
If it would give me actual money, like what's it's like buying friggin' Caesar's Palace blackjack for your Sega Genesis. Like, what are you doing? No, I mean, I don't think they're gonna go out of business or anything like that. But I do think that the business model has definitely changed, and I think we can all agree on that. And they're adapting to what they think is best. And I guess bottom lines will prove that to be true, and if that works for them, that's cool. But you're gonna lose people along the way. Not everyone's gonna like every decision that you make. So I think they still got a few years left in the tank. I do think that I do honestly feel though that the home arcade market wasn't quite as big as a lot of these companies thought it was.
No. I think you're 100% right. Thank you very much for the super chat, console fanboy. Really quickly before I'll ask your final thoughts and give you to kind of clue it up what you think they should do, but you talked about it. You said iArcade went out of business. Maybe some of this was propped up and there was some false, I don't know what if I want to use the term inflation, but the fact that we had this pandemic and people weren't going out to restaurants, they weren't going out to movies, they weren't spending money on dates and other crap you would do outside. You were confined to your house. People weren't even going to work, they were working from home. This concept of being able to buy these little arcades and build these arcades in your home became this flash phenomenon that really propped up the market, maybe larger than some of these companies saw. Would you say that's a fair estimation on maybe what happened?
100%, because every video game related market saw that. You know, there was a boost in prices of retro games. People were scalping the Nintendo Switch, even though it had been out for 4 years at that point.
Yeah, I remember that.
Like, and people were buying it because got to have Animal Crossing. No, I definitely feel like it artificially, well, maybe not artificially inflated, but it inflated it at that time frame because you had to find something to pass the time, and that was, you know, a good way to do it. I mean, there's even YouTubers who got artificially inflated by that time because people were stuck at home and they were watching YouTube videos, so people saw their metrics higher than normal, and then when the metrics went down, they didn't understand why, and it's like, oh, that's why. Like, people can actually leave the house.
Yeah, it sucks, man. My bank account is not as fat as it once was. What are you gonna do? $1.09 super chat from Zohar here. Damn it, I almost had a clip for a video. Damn.
Sorry,
Thanks
Zohar.
for the super chat. But you know, Zohar, you can get RGT85 on Cameo.
Oh, so he does all the time.
I know. So, Sean, really quickly, I know you got to go, but in your words, what do you think Arcade1Up should do? Not just for you, but going forward to really try to capture new people and revitalize their brand.
Honestly, to be completely honest, they should do what's best for their bottom line. Don't worry about what people say about you. Don't worry about this, that, and the other. Hate to say it, don't worry about, you know, discussions like this on internet forums. If what you're doing is making you money and you're holding even or doing better or this, that, and the other, none of that matters. None of it matters at the end of the day because people are still buying your stuff. You're still making money. And it's an unfortunate reality, but I mean, that's just how reality is. You know, things change. Things go more commercialized, more, you know, mainstream. And like, that's just how it is, man. Like, selfishly, I would like them to focus more on newer titles, more 90s titles, because obviously your age demographic, you're trying to, I mean, I would think you're trying to get some of the more 90s related titles, maybe later 90s titles. Obviously, it's a little bit harder with some of the hardware, but no, you got to do what makes you money at the end of the day. Like, you have to, and if it's working, stick with it.
I always look at this like all these titles. Pac-Man is kind of a cash cow. They throw it out there because it's going to make them a bunch of money. And I hope Pac-Man sells really well because if they sell a bunch of them, they're going to do some weird and wacky shit that I'm excited for. I think maybe where they went wrong, if I can say they went wrong the last couple of years, was really trying to throw a couple touchdowns and get a couple of games that maybe they weren't ready to deal with at that time. So, like, you look at last year with Blitz and you look at last year with Marvel vs. Capcom 2. I think they were really trying to swing for the fences with those titles. And I think they were batting above their weight class or fighting above their weight class, right?
Yeah.
So I just don't think their hardware was up to snuff for what they could put in their machines. And I don't think they were ready for it. But they wanted to get those titles out there, and maybe it was a little bit too early. And I think the research and development and the botch sales with Blitz and whoever the hell told them to make that special side art for the cabinet, awful. I don't know what the hell they were thinking. So,
I mean, you know, there's always, and I think another one of these problems is I think a lot of these companies have a lot of yes men surrounding them,
big time,
and you could kind of, you know, guess what I'm alluding to with that, but. You know, I think you should also, you know, listen to all feedback at the end of the day, you know, and decide you know, do you want to be that passion product, or do you want to be that product that makes you rich, or do you want to be somewhere in the middle? Like, come up with a more clear cut vision, because I feel like it's a lot. You get a lot of mixed signals from them.
Yeah, like I love iArcade. I know you liked it too. Like when you
Yeah,
got yours, you were like, "This is dope," right?
yeah,
And I used to constantly tell them, I was like, "You guys, you need to go out and get something that's like something to sell the console." And I felt like they had a lot of people. They would release a game like some of the games were crap. And they would release these games. People were like, "That game is awesome. Don't let anybody tell you wrong." And I
yeah,
was like, "No, man, you need people to tell you like, do not put these games out."
yeah. Or you could put whatever out, but have bigger titles. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you need something. You know, like there was some decent stuff on there for sure, but you need to keep that up. But at the same time, like, I liked some of the stuff they had on there. I always thought the iArcade as like when you would go to the arcade and there'd be a bunch of kids on Street Fighter, there'd be a bunch of kids on Mortal Kombat. So you're not playing those. You have to go around and find kind of the weird offshoot games that the arcade has. And like that's what I viewed that as the weird kind of offshoot thing with a bunch of games that you might have never heard of before, but some of them were pretty fun.
So, Rights Retrocade says we got to end on a positive. Great show. HA is forever. Thank you very much for the super chat, brother. We got to think of a positive really quick so you can get off of here.
About Arcade1Up or just about
Just in general.
um
Sean got a new hat.
I got a new hat.
Yeah.
Got a new
It's
hat.
dope.
And that is a very positive thing.
Yeah. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Hopefully this conversation was fun. We talked about Arcade1Up's Vault, their deluxe line. We're going to be getting some more re-releases, and hopefully if they are re-releases, it's not the stuff we've already seen 100 times. It's going to be wacky, weird, and interesting stuff, which are better versions of cabs that didn't do so well earlier. But at the same time, more than likely, it's probably not going to be those because they didn't sell super well. So anyways, guys, from there, we heard some great comments from RGT85. Let's see if he ever buys another Arcade1Up. I'm going to be watching because I got a feeling Daytona's right around the corner. At least I'm going to be hoping it is.
You hitting at something there? You know something?
I wish. They can't do it. They don't have the technology for it yet, unfortunately. The commercial emulator is not there. Shit. Oh, really quick, the poll before we go, 35% Defender is the winner. I'll be super happy if they do Defender. Anyways, guys, thank you so much. Thank you very much, RGT85. Let's get you out of here so you can go do whatever it is. Hopefully it's not watch Monday Night Raw. They're getting there, but it's not there yet.
No.
What about Fight Forever? Do you like Fight Forever?
Oh, yeah. I'm having a lot of fun with it.
I was kind of pissed off when I saw the DLC bundles. I was like, all right, I'm going to put the titles on FTR. What? $12? That's a bit much.
I just went ahead and bought the season pass on it.
Oh, shit. That's what I should have done. I didn't even see that.
Yeah.
Anyways, guys, we're out of here. I'm a memory, as Macho Man used to say. See you guys.